What's up, guys? We're back. We're going to do another breakdown, and this week I'm joined by Lucrative MMA, first time on the channel, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know about him. He's one of the best MMA cappers in the world right now, so we're getting a treat here on the channel, man. So, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight?
Yeah, doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. You say, how you doing tonight? It's only 4 p.m. where I am in New Zealand, so
Oh yeah,
we
shit.
still got the rest of the night to go. But we did a good breakdown on my channel last time for UFC
Yep.
287, and hey, that went pretty well, man. I think we called a lot of winners. I can't really remember exactly, but I know we had some decent bets on that card between us. And so we're back again for another pay-per-view on your channel this time. So hopefully we can do the same as we did last time, man.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. So, anytime we can talk either way, even if we're not cashing bets, it's always fun to talk to you. And I know that we're both knowledgeable. So, at the end of it, we're going to make some money and like breaking down fights with someone that knows what they're talking about, man. But yeah, we're going to get into this first fight now, Joseph Holmes versus Claudia Ribera. To me, this is a real crazy fight, kind of volatile fight. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, same, man. I mean, both of these guys are like low level. They
Yeah.
haven't really proved anything, either of them. I faded Ribero last time out. I don't know why they gave me Pick'em against Al Hassan, because Al Hassan's kind of proven in the division. Obviously, he's a gasser. But then I looked at Ribero and I said, he's got bad card. I mean, he's got good cardio, but other than that, I don't really see any advantages he has over Al Hassan. And we saw what Al Hassan done. He kind of just grappled him a little bit, just pushed him up against the cage. Cage pushed him. He got hit with some bad leg kicks, Al Hassan, but he just walked through them in the end and then ended up knocking him out in the second round. And now he's getting Joseph Holmes, and he's priced worse than he was against Al Hassan. I mean, I understand that, of course, but I feel like that last fight, it didn't do him any favors. I don't think. I mean, I don't think Joseph Holmes is anything special, but I don't think he should be getting rated at minus 200 or whatever it was. So I would have jumped in on the early line of Joseph Holmes. I know a few people in my circle did bet Joseph Holmes at like plus 180, and I completely understand that bet. I would probably make it too, but I kind of hesitated, and now it's like plus 140 or something. I'm not going to be betting Joseph Holmes at that price. Like, ultimately, I do think Ribera gets the knockout, but in terms of a bet, I mean, you can't even play Ribera knockout. It's like minus 130. I mean, the
Yeah, I
books are
saw that.
getting sharp. The books are getting sharp. They know what they're doing. I feel like a couple years ago, if you got a minus 200 money line, the KO props virtually always going to be plus money. But I think these days they're just getting a lot better at setting the line. So to me, this is a massive pass fight. But I'll pick Claudia Ribera for the knockout as my official prediction.
Yeah, I kind of got the same prediction, honestly. I feel like Holmes, I think he could win if he really pushes the clinch because I think he actually is kind of underrated. He got a few takedowns in a few of his fights, but he's so green, man, that it's just hard to trust that he's going to fight to a good game plan. And I have no faith in him. And I feel like Ribeiro, he's just like he has that left hook and the leg kicks. He's real wild. And if he catches you, he knocks you out. And I do think he has good cardio, but I mean, I don't think it like either of these guys. I don't think are gonna do much in the division. I don't know about you, but yeah, it's like I have no clue. I mean, if I had to even give a bet on this fight, I guess I would say like the under. But what's that? Like minus 300 juiced or something. So it's like
Yeah.
nothing really on this fight. I don't think you could really do too much. I mean,
No,
but
it's big juice.
unless you, I guess, what's Holmes by submission? I don't think that's gonna happen, but. It's like maybe if he took the back, maybe he could sub him. But
Yeah, plus 400. That's not bad, to be honest, especially if you think Holmes wins.
yeah, because he does have like good back takes, but
Yeah.
I don't think I would lay on that though. But that's like the maybe the biggest value on that fight. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, but yeah, man. This next fight, I think it's a little bit of a better of a fight. So pretty sure, right? Isn't that the Zargas
Zuma,
one, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Zargas fight. Coming back from retirement, Zuma
yeah.
Gulov.
You see his tweet? I thought that shit was funny. Where he had the. Do you see how he
Yeah,
had the patty hair and then he was like, "I'm hoping I have the same judges" or some shit like that.
that's hilarious, man. That's like one of the best MMA tweets of all time.
Yeah, I know. Especially with him, it's like you would have no idea like he would be like that. But honestly,
Yeah.
I'll go first on this one. And I took the shot on Zalgas. I actually bet on him, so I'm going with him in this one. And I feel like I watched Esteban a few of his fights. He did get dropped in one of the LFA fights that I watched of his. I feel like he has good kicks and he's big for the weight, but his hands are really bad. I feel like I saw him like he'll load up really bad on his punches in the pocket, and I've seen him throw punches with his eyes closed too in a few of his fights. So I feel like Zargas is gonna have a big advantage on the feet. Like Zargas' striking isn't bad. Like he'll switch stance, he attacks the body a lot, good counter puncher, and he's been getting fucked by the judges because man, I mean, I feel like judges in MMA they don't like counter punching, dude. They don't like body punching, body attacks. Like they don't give a lot of points to certain things that Zargas does, so it makes for a lot of close fights. But this Esteban guy, to me, it's like to win, he has to get it to the ground, and we've seen Zargas fight grapplers in the UFC, guys that are pretty good. Like he fought Albazi, and Albazi didn't take him down until late in the third round, and then he controlled him a couple of minutes. But Zargas defended a lot of takedowns, and I feel like Zumagulov, he's fought the highest level you could get. Really, essentially, he's fought some of the best guys. And when he was fighting overseas, like in ACA, this is the exact style we would always get, guys that came in and tried to take him down. So I just don't see Esteban being that high level of a guy. So ultimately, I picked Zargas. I bet on him by decision, or not by decision, but I think he's going to win by decision. I bet on him at like I think plus 160. I think I got. So I like that number, and I think he'll win by decision. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually on the other side. I think Estevan's going to take this one. You know, Zargas is a decent fighter. Obviously, he's 1-5 in the UFC. Doesn't look good, but definitely some of those wins or some of those losses could have been wins, you know, especially the Molina one and the Charles Johnson one. I actually bet on him versus Molina, and I didn't watch the fight. I just heard all the cries of robbery after, and then I saw MMA decisions, and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to go back and watch the fight. And then I ended up watching it again when I taped him for Charles Johnson. Didn't watch it again when I taped him for this fight. But yeah, I just feel like in this spot, he's coming up against someone who's a lot more hungry than him, who's a lot more young in the game. You know, there's almost a 10-year, I think there's a 9-year, well, we can see it right here. There's an 8-year age difference in this spot, right? Zargas is 34 years old and Rafael is 26 years old. And, you know, we know more often than not when the younger guy, when you have a massive difference, like almost 10 years, the younger guy usually wins. And I think that's going to happen here just because, like I said, younger, he's more ferocious. And I just feel like his tenacity and cardio, his pace and his pressure is going to be too much for Zargas. You know, I do think Zargas is going to compete early, but I don't really see him stopping the takedowns when it comes to round 2 or round 3. You know, I feel like Zargas has to hurt him on the feet in order to win. Like, I mean, of course he could win a decision, but I've seen Zargas fade in quite a few of his fights, you know, especially, I mean, even in the Albazi fight, you mentioned that he didn't get taken down to round 3. And I feel like the reason is because he fades, you know, his cardio kind of dwindles. And against someone like Esteban, you need to have like really high level cardio. But on the other hand, Esteban has never faced someone on the level of Zargas. So you never really know how these fighters are going to perform when they take that step up in competition. You know, we just have to guess. I understand faded him because like, you're kind of fading the step up in competition. And then obviously, you know, I understand the striking. He's not a very good striker. But for me, I do think he will pass the test in the step up in competition. And I just can't get over Zargas retiring, coming back from retirement, like 1-5 in the UFC. The guy's on a downslope. I mean, even if you go back to some of his ACA fights, or I think he fought in ACA, or maybe an ACB, but some promotion in Russia when he was fighting Ulanbekov and Ali Bagatinov and people like that. He beat these guys, right? But he shouldn't have won those fights. You know, like they were robberies for him. And then I think, obviously, in the UFC, he got the karma paid back. But he was getting dominated in the grappling in those fights. And I do think Bagatinov and Ulanbekov are better wrestlers than Esteban. But I also don't think they're as relentless with the pace and pressure as Esteban, honestly. And so I do feel like kind of we might see a repeat of those fights, you know, just taken down, out-grappled. And I actually think Esteban can get a late finish in this fight. But yeah, I'm on Esteban, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either. I mean, I get exactly what you're saying. One thing too that I do kind of like to do when I'm breaking down fights is when I looked at Esteban, he's fought all Brazilians. Every single one of his fights has been against a Brazilian. Yeah. So it's hard for me to really know how good his wrestling is. Like, is he like just taking down guys that don't know how to wrestle? Like, or is he going to be able to take down a guy like Zargas? So that's why I think this is it's a good way. It's a good look on your side where you're kind of looking at the youth and you're looking at the streak where they're out in their careers, and that's why you're going with him. And then I feel like you could see the reasoning on the Zargas side too, because he's fought some of the best guys in the world, and he's seen way different types of styles, different bodies, and to me, Esteban is still kind of only seen like one style of fighter, really. But we'll see what happens with that one. That'll be a good fight for sure. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I'm upset that the Daniel Santos fight got called off
Yeah,
against
man.
Johnny Munoz. That would have
That
been a
would.
banger.
Yeah, I was kind of like when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh, Santos is gonna win like all day easily." But then when I was looking it up, I definitely saw like a path where Munoz could win, even though I was still
Yeah,
kind of thinking Santos would win. But yeah, that would have been a sick fight for sure. I like the way Santos fights, anyways. Like that last fight, he got
how
dropped
can you
like
not?
5 times, dude.
That's
That was
crazy. I
crazy.
had a bet on him there, man, and that was such a horrible position to have a bet on. Like it was a great position because of the way it ended, but it was a horrible position because
Yeah.
like it probably took a year or two off my life watching that fight, man.
Yeah, like he was getting lit up, but he just had no quit in him. So that's definitely something good to see. Like hopefully we could see him in the cage soon. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
this next fight, what do you think about this one? Newcomer coming in, taking on someone from New Jersey, so he's gonna be fighting at home here.
Yeah, so Phil Hawes, man, this guy's annoying because like he's a really good fighter, you know. He's got good striking. I think his striking's even improving. He's got insane power. I know he hasn't really done it in the UFC apart from maybe Jacob Malkoun. Obviously, he knocked out Darren Win, but I mean, Darren Win, and it was more of like a cumulative beatdown as well. But like this guy has one punch power, you know. I mean, you go back and watch some of his fights, the guy drops people dead, you know, and he hasn't done it recently, but that's a big thing to have on your side, you know, in MMA where you just got that one touch power because not a lot of people have it, but Phil Horse has it. And then on top of that, he's got really good wrestling. You know, he usually is very strong in the clinch. I mean, I've never seen him taken down, and I'd actually be curious to ask you if you've seen him taken down because I literally tried to watch footage of Phil Horse getting taken down, you know, because I wanted to see how he was on his back. Because obviously he's fighting Ikram Aliskerov here, who's a beast wrestler. I mean, not even a wrestler, but just a beast grappler in general. Very heavy top control. And so I wanted to see how Phil Hawes does on bottom. And the guy is so strong in the clinch, such a good wrestler that I couldn't see any tape of the guy getting taken down. So maybe there was something on the regional scene, but I watched like 5 or 6 fights, no takedowns. And I was like, damn, I'm not going to go through this guy's whole career. So I just stopped watching tape there. But I haven't seen him being taken down. So I'm curious to see how he performs when he, or if he is taken down by Aliskerov, because we know what Aliskerov's going to do, right? And Aliskerov is famous for getting for being on the end of Hamzat Chimaev's highlight reel with that brutal uppercut KO, but also for being the only person that Chimaev tried to but couldn't take down. You know, so this guy is a beast, has beast takedown defense just like Phil Hawes. So it's going to be interesting in this fight, man. I do kind of favor Ikram to win just because I cannot trust Phil Hawes' chin at this point in time. I mean, the guy has an awful chin. You know, when I was saying all of Phil Hawes' good bits, I was also going to mention his bad bits. And literally, I mean, there's only really one bad thing I'd say about him. I wouldn't say any of his game is bad, apart from maybe his cardio, but is his chin. You know, he has no chin. The guy gets wobbled by a jab, a gust of wind, then he does the chicken dance. Word to McGregor, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't trust this dude in the octagon. So I think if Ikram touches him, even though Ikram's not a great striker at all, and he doesn't even have much power on the feet, I still think he could knock him out. But we're talking about gambling here, right? We're not just talking about who we think's going to win. And Phil Hawes at plus 180, I actually did bet him, right? I think I got plus 175. I really wanted to bet him a plus 235. Then the line dropped overnight, and I was like, maybe I'll just pass now. But honestly, I still see some value. I think this fight should be closer to a pick'em. Eliskerov's taken a massive step up in competition here. He's never fought anyone apart from Hamzat Chimaev on this level. Hamzat Chimaev, he got knocked out in 2 minutes. So I just feel like this could be a levels fight, man. Hawes is the better striker. I'm very confident in saying that. Hawes has great takedown defense. He may even get takedowns of his own. And so I don't know why you have a debutant at like minus 230 or whatever. I understand you can't trust Phil Hawes in general, but this is gambling, and you know you can't trust any fighter when it comes down to gambling. Really, anything can happen. So yeah, I took a shot on Phil Hawes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out.
Yeah, man. Actually, I'm glad to hear that. I also have a bet on Phil Haas too, so
Let's go.
we're on the same thing. I kind of agree totally. Like But I was watching a few of Ikram's fights, like, and I just was not that impressed, man. Like, I watched this fight with the Chad Hanokin. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen that fight,
yeah,
and
he couldn't take him down at all.
couldn't take him down at all.
Yeah.
And that guy's just like a South African guy. I tried to look up if he had like a wrestling background, and I couldn't find anything. So I think that guy's just like an MMA fighter, Chad Hanokin, and couldn't take him down. And it was a close fight. Like he was getting held against the cage too in that fight, and like
Yeah.
I feel like if he could hold him against the cage, Phil Hawes definitely could hold him against the cage too. And Phil Hawes is going to be the bigger guy. If you do know, I mean, Ikram used to fight at 170, so he's only had a few fights at 85. He fought Chimaev, I believe, at 170. That's where he got knocked out in that fight. And I think he was talking about after that fight, he didn't want to cut the weight anymore. I'm pretty sure about that, right? Or am I wrong?
It makes sense because that was actually a catch weight of 180 pounds.
Yeah.
And apparently he weighed in at 175.
Yeah, I feel like because I remember I listened to an interview where he was talking about that fight, and he was saying that he cut too much weight, and then after that he didn't want to go down to welterweight again. But he's had welterweight fights,
right.
so
Yeah,
like
every fight after that has been middleweight.
Middleweight. Yeah. So I think maybe he did have some weight cutting issues. Maybe that's because he got dropped with the jab in that fight, and then he got killed with the uppercut. So like his chin was not there in the Chimaev fight. But he's definitely going to be the smaller guy against Phil Hawes. That's what I'm trying to say. Like physically, Phil Hawes is a big guy for 85. Like he could fight at 205. I feel like Phil Hawes. So he's a big dude, and I think his cardio has gotten way better. Like that's something that I saw in the Kyle Daukaus fight. He wasn't even breathing heavy at all in the third round. Like his cardio was on point in that fight.
Daukaus gassed out before him.
Yeah, but like he didn't look tired at all though. And like he was bullying Daukaus, and I feel like Ikram, it's like similar. It's like a long guy, like that. Sometimes Ikram will switch stance, but he is southpaw quite a bit. Like you see when he goes southpaw, he tries to get that single leg. But I don't see him taking down Phil Hawes. Like you said, I've never seen Phil Hawes taken down in his career, like at all, even close to being taken down. So I just feel like the line is off. I think it should be like a pick 'em because obviously Hawes is coming off another knockout loss, and like you said, it's like eventually those knockouts are going to come where it's like he's going to get KO'd off one punch. And I do think you have to remember though that did have a little bit to do with him getting his knee destroyed though on the ground. Like so he was a sitting duck. Yeah, he's a sitting duck to get KO'd. So it's not necessarily going to happen the same way in this fight. And I've never seen Ikram off of his back. Like he does have that sick Kimura from top, but I don't know about you, but I feel like if either guy gets on top of the other, it's going to be kind of like a dominant showing because I don't think either guy is going to be used to being on bottom. But that's just would be my opinion. But I just feel like Hawes, he's fighting at home too. It's the debut for Ikram. He's had like 7 or 8 fights in the UFC or 6, 7 fights. Like I don't get the line at all, honestly. I think it's like just a big tax on Aliskerov just because he's a Dagestani guy. Like I think that's literally the only reason the line's like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, but I'm not saying he can't win, but
what did you think about this? Because I can definitely see Hawes cracking him, like Chimaev knocked him out. I could see Hawes knocking him out. Like I said, back in Hawes' earlier fights, the guy's got one punch power, so I could see Hawes knocking him out. But then I could also see Hawes, like I honestly probably lean a little bit more to Hawes winning a decision. But Hawes by knockout is plus 300. But then Hawes' decision is plus 600. So, I mean, that's a massive price. Like, what do you think about Hawes' decision?
Yeah, plus 600 to me, that's like a great price on that. I didn't even see that till you just brought that up. So I already have the bet on Hawes. I don't know if I want to put more money on him, but that's tempting right there, honestly, man. Like now that you brought that up, like I don't, especially because it's in
maybe half a unit, maybe a little quarter unit.
Yeah, if it's in New Jersey, I mean, usually I guess sometimes like that's overblown. I think like that hometown favoritism, but he is from New Jersey and he's fighting a Russian guy. So if it's ever going to happen in a close fight, it would be this one. So I don't know, man. I think hopefully we are onto something on that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, this guy, bro. Yeah, I don't know. Like, did you listen to this fool's interview, Braxton Smith, after his last fight? Where he's like, I'm not even traded. I got to get a coach. Like, what the fuck, bro? That was a month ago.
That was the fight. That was the fight that got him into the UFC.
That fight was like 6 weeks ago. So like, there's no way what got a trading camp. Like, it just happened, that fight. So,
That's
but I
crazy,
still,
man.
but honestly, it's like I'm still picking him to win.
Oh,
To win.
really?
I'm gonna pick him to win by first round KO, man. I like literally I don't give a fuck about this fight, so like my pick to me is really irrelevant. Like, and I'm not gonna give any betting advice on it. And
Yeah.
but like I don't know. Porter got slept in his last fight. I like this Braxton Smith guy's like crazy aggressive where for 3 minutes. So I just feel like he's gonna catch him. Porter's super hittable, but I get why like a lot of people are on Porter, and I mean the people that are on Braxton Smith, I think you guys are pretty crazy. Like even though I pick it up, I just don't know, man. There's not enough to go out there for me to put money on him. I would never do it, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Just as a fun pick, I'm gonna say knocks him out in like 30 seconds. Fuck it. Let's see.
I mean, if he's gonna win, that's how he's gonna do it, right? It's gonna be an early
Yeah,
knockout. So
that's all
kind of
his wins, right? Every single wins first round KO.
yeah, like so. Let's look at Braxton Smith's record, right? Because this guy is a piece of work, man. I mean, and no offense to him, but like this is insane. I've not really ever. I mean, sometimes the UFC makes some horrible, horrible signings, right? And you're like, how the hell did this guy get into the UFC? But oftentimes they're off the Contender Series or something. But this is just straight off the regional scene. So you can see here he fought in 2014 against none other than Chase Sherman. And it says a loss here, but I actually looked into the fight. I couldn't see the actual tape of the fight, but I found out the result and the method. And he got knocked out. So he lost by knockout within 2 minutes, right? From Chase Sherman, first round knockout. And then he takes 8 years off the sport, 2014, doesn't fight again until 2022. And I was hearing through the grapevine that the reason is because his mother passed away and his mother was a big thing in his life, told him to start MMA and stuff. But we're talking 8 years, right? So professional debut in 2014, doesn't fight again until 8 years later, where he fights Cody Beck, who is also making his debut, 0-0 record. He wins via first round head kick knockout. I don't even know how he. I mean, Cody Beck must be a short guy, right? Because I don't know how you
Yeah.
can win as a head kick as Braxton Smith in the heavyweight division. But he wins that fight, and then he goes on to have 5 fights in the next 12 months. So he doesn't fight for 8 years. Then he has 5 fights in 12 months, and he wins every single one of them by first round knockout, right? And you can see his third fight here against Jacare Savage. He knocks this dude out in 49 seconds. 6 months later, he rematches the same dude and knocks him out in 44 seconds this time. And then he goes onto the mic and says, I haven't even got a training camp. I need to get into the gym. And then the UFC call him up from that. I mean, it's the strangest turn of events ever. I have no idea why this guy is in the UFC. Maybe his nickname or something. His nickname is the Beautiful Monster. I don't know, man. But this guy is probably going to get rolled over by Parker Porter. But like you said, man, he's always live for that first round knockout.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick
Honestly,
Parker Porter.
I'm just picking that just like because I don't give
Yeah,
a
I
shit
feel
about
you.
the fight.
Yeah,
So
I know what
that's
you mean.
but like I don't know. Like but yeah, I feel you. He probably will like more often than not he'll probably get crushed. But yeah.
I mean, look, he's like I'm not gonna say he's fast, yeah, but he's probably faster than Parker Porter, right? So
Oh,
we
for
know
sure.
speed can kill at heavyweight. So who knows, man? But yeah, I'm gonna pick Parker Porter. I actually want to look at the. I know this is proper degenerate stuff, but I want to look at the lines here, right? Because Braxton Smith KO in round one. Like, let's see what they're giving us. I don't think they give us anything great. Yeah, so it's plus 250, plus 190, which is just hilarious for an underdog. I mean, his money line. This is what I'm saying about the books getting sharper. His money line on Bet Online is plus 150, and his KO in round one, not even KO in round one is plus 190.
Yeah, they know like that's the only way he's gonna win.
That's
Pretty
insane.
much.
That's not even difference. Like that's
what's in
crazy.
by what's in by decision? Like plus a 3,000?
Yeah, plus 1,000. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
will happen.
man, big pass for me. But I definitely think this fight doesn't go to decision. Like I think the under 2.5 rounds at like minus 400. Like honestly, I think that should be probably like minus 900. So I
Yeah.
mean, 80% is probably closer to 90%. So honestly, I wouldn't even mind that if you want to like put it in a parlay or something.
Yeah, that's probably a good parlay piece for sure. But yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, man, those type of heavyweight fights, like I'd rather get like some random motherfucker like Braxton Smith than see like Parker Porter versus Chase Sherman because I already know that's going to be a horrible fight. At least this one, it's like
Yeah, it's
you could
true.
speculate about it more before the fight. Like I don't know, man, but they always
Yeah,
give us these heavyweight fights sometimes where it's like just BS fight. But I guess they got to
it's
put
crazy,
them
man.
on.
It's so crazy. Like the level of fighters in the heavyweight division is so much lower than all of the other
Like
lower weight
look at the
classes.
fights last week, the two heavyweight fights. Even DeLima against they're like top 15 level. DeLima and Cortez
Crazy.
Acosta.
They're all like
It
they're
was
all like
a stupid
overweight. They're
fight.
all like overweight, man. They're all like out of shape and overweight.
Yeah, like that's why if you're athletic, like like at heavyweight, you're already like in the top 10 basically. That's why I'm
I
picking
know.
Braxton. Honestly, that's because like he's athletic and Parker Porter isn't. So, but
Yeah, I feel
it's
you.
like yeah, but fuck it.
We spoke about that for way too long, bro.
Yeah, I know that was like the longest breakdown we had, but yeah, this next fight, this is actually a good fight. So,
Hmm.
Marina Rodriguez and Virna Jandiroba. You can go first on this one. I'm pretty sure you got a strong opinion on this fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, fairly strong. Like in terms of where the line is now, I don't really have a strong opinion just because I feel like it's a close fight. You know, I think it's a very competitive fight. But I actually do have a bet on Verna Jandiroba. I bet her at plus 160. I think I tipped her out to all of my members at plus 150, and now she's like plus 110. So, yeah, I mean, beat the line there. It always feels good when you beat the line. Sometimes they say CLV stands for cursed line value. So we'll see if it ends up being cursed. But I do think she has some decent advantages in this spot. It's a very easy fight to break down. You know, it's like we don't need to be too technical about this. I mean, it's a striker versus grappler at the end of the day. You know, if Marina gets stuck on bottom, she's going to lose. If Verna gets stuck on the feet, she's going to lose. So is is Verna going to be able to take her down? That's really what the fight comes down to. Just forget everything else. You know, is Verna going to be able to take her down? In my opinion, she will get her down at least once or twice. And I honestly think she only needs to get her down once or twice to win the fight because I think from top position, I don't necessarily think she's going to submit her. I mean, Marina Rodriguez has proven to have good submission defense. You know, she's proven to be very tough on the ground. You know, even when she gets 10-8'd, she's still not getting finished. I think she got 10-8'd like twice in the UFC. I'm pretty sure she got 10-8'd by like Randa Marcos or something back in the
Yeah.
day, which is a very, very bad look, you know. But obviously, she's improved a lot since then. But she's also not really improved her takedown defense that much because in her last 7 fights, she's been taken down in every single one of them. And I think out of the 10, like this is off the top of my head from what I can remember, but out of the 10 UFC fights she's had, she's been taken down in like 80% of them. I think out of 11 fights, she's been taken down in 8 of them. So I don't really see why she's not going to get taken down against Verna Jandiroba. You know, I mean, is this going to be, you know, the 10% of fights where she doesn't get taken down? I mean, I doubt it. Even Mackenzie Dern got this girl down, you know? So I think Verna can probably take her down. And if she does, I think she's going to do some good work from top position. I think she probably just wins the round. I wouldn't say she finishes her, and I wouldn't say she gets a 10-8 because Verna is more of a position over submission. She's quite, I mean, she will go for the submissions, but I think she's not as reckless as some of the other girls. Maybe Marina's fault, like Carla Esparza can be quite dominant from top position and stuff like that. So I don't think Jandiroba is going to be landing elbows and heavy smashes from top position. She'll probably be more looking for the submission. And if Marina stays safe enough, then it will just be like a 10-9 round. So I'm basically banking on Verna getting 2 or more takedowns in this fight. And that's why I bet on her at plus 150. But, you know, I completely understand that if she isn't able to get the takedown, she's going to lose on the feet. She may even get hurt badly and, you know, stopped. I mean, that could definitely be possible as well. So, yeah, but I'm taking Verna Jandiroba. I think plus 150 is a silly price on a fight that I think is about a pick'em.
Yeah, I agree. I went with Jandaroba too. So honestly, basically everything what you said is what I think about the fight, and I think Jandaroba, her striking is getting better than Marina Rodriguez's grappling is getting, if that makes sense. Like she
Yeah.
dropped Amanda Hebos in that fight. I was surprised by that. She knocked her down with like an overhand, and her
Yeah.
footwork is getting better. She's obviously an awkward striker, but I think that she's at least getting better at staying safe on the feet to get the takedown, which is what she needs to do against Marina. And her last fight, she went in there against a very similar opponent. Like Angela Hill, she likes to stay on the outside,
Yeah.
use long striking. She's fast in and out. I feel like she's actually faster with her footwork. Marina's more like Muay Thai, a little bit plotty striker. And Marina, I mean, her like if she lands her elbows or her shots, they're going to be more impactful than an Angela Hill, so she can't get hit in this fight like that much, but I think she only needs a couple takedowns, like you said, and she could definitely solidify the rounds. I've seen a couple people saying like Marina has good get ups, but I've never seen her get up off of her back in any fight. Like I saw like a couple tweets people saying that, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go watch a few fights, and like I never saw her get up off bottom. I saw she got up when Carla went for that leg lock. She was able to get up when Carla gave up position, but when she gets taken down, she stays on the bottom for the whole fight. And she's getting older. She's 36 years old now too, and she kind of got screwed around. Like she probably should have got a title shot, and UFC didn't want to give it to her. They gave her Lemos. She lost. She got knocked out. So who knows where her motivation is now coming into this fight? Like she probably thinks that she's never going to get a title shot at this point, or she has to win 2 or 3, 4 more fights in a row. And if you look at the girls that Jandaroba loses to, they're all usually people that can out grapple her, or negate her grappling. Like she lost to Carla, she lost to Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Hebos. All these girls have high level grappling as well, where Marina just doesn't have that. So I think, especially when you're doing a striker versus grappler at women's weight classes where there's not going to be that many knockouts, there's not like a lot of variance where she's going to be able to drop her multiple times and things like that. I think you have to lean towards the grappler if you think it's close at all, because if they get a takedown in women's MMA, it's like a lot of times, man, in men's MMA, like smaller weight classes, they can get up off bottom and scramble like crazy. Like it's impossible to hold them down. But women, man, when they get taken down, a lot of them, they're on their back the whole rest of the round. Like they don't have the get up game, really, a lot of them yet. So especially in this matchup, I feel like Jandaroba at plus money is a pretty good bet. So,
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah. Like these are straw weights, right? So 115. And if you see the closest weight class in the men's division to straw weight, it's flyweight 125, right? Like flyweights, you can't hold those guys down. As soon as they get on the ground, like there's no dominant grapplers at flyweight almost ever. I mean, you get a few like Borg and stuff, but in reality, there's not really any dominant guys. But in the women's division, like, you get taken down, you stay down. We see that all the time. So it's funny to see the difference between the men's and the women's, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe it's like they don't have that explosiveness, to get up off bottom like that. Like, so if you're technical, then man, it's like hard to get up, man. But yeah, like, so I feel like, or go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I can't point to too much women's MMA where they're just like scrambling for the whole fight, just constantly scramble. It doesn't really exist that much,
No, yeah, exactly. It's like,
what do you think about me? Sorry, bro.
Maybe eventually, like, we'll start seeing that, like, scramble crazy. But yeah, like you said, we haven't seen it at all.
I might be a little bit wilding on this one, but what do you think of me saying that Angela Hill is actually a tougher fight for Werner than Marina Rodriguez? Do you think I'm?
No, I don't think you're crazy, because I think that, like I said, the difference is I think Angela's feet are faster and she moves well. So like Marina is more like a pressure Muay Thai fighter that's like she's going forward and backward in straight lines. Right? I think it's a lot easier to tail her off, but if she can stuff the takedowns, then she's going to beat up Werner a lot faster than Angela would. So it's kind of like a give or take. But with this matchup, when we're both thinking, the takedowns are going to be available, I would agree, because I think it's going to be easier to kind of cut her off and get her down. So yeah, I don't think you're crazy in that.
Yeah, and also I just plain and simple, I just think Angela Hill has better takedown defense than Marina Rodriguez. Yeah, I honestly do.
She's a better grappler. Like she's definitely a better grappler for sure. So
yeah, we'll see how it goes, man. A lot of people are on Werner Jandiroba this weekend, so I'm just hope we don't get mushed, because you see that sometimes when everyone's on the same guy and then it just doesn't go well, and it's usually an underdog, but who knows, man.
Yeah. This next fight, this is one I'm pretty confident in, honestly. Like I looked up this Rolando Bedoya guy, and I think he's fun to watch. Like, don't get me wrong, like the guy's entertaining because he goes in there to bang. Like, but that's a horrible game plan to have against Chaos Williams. Like he likes to get in the pocket and throw like volume combinations and stay in the pocket and like go to war. And he can roll with punches pretty well. Like I have seen him, like he has good eyes, but he's gotten dropped against these guys that are lower level guys, and like Chaos is explosive, man. You don't want to be in the pocket with that guy exchanging. Like I think that's like the worst possible game plan to have. And Bedoya's taken down some of these Peruvian guys, like, but I don't see him being able to take down Chaos or even attempting it. Really, I think he's going to go out there and he's going to fight how he always fights. He's going to try to make it a war, and I think Chaos is going to probably knock him out in the first round. So I'm pretty confident in this one, and that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm on the exact same page. I mean, when you look at, like, it might not happen, but when you look at tape, it's very hard for me to see anybody watching tape and coming away with a different opinion than Chaos Williams by KO. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I understand someone could watch the Marina Rodriguez and Werner fight and say, you know what, I think Marina's gonna win. You know, or I could understand most fights when you tape study them, you go, okay, like I think this is gonna happen, and someone could disagree with you, but I don't really see how you can disagree with Chaos via KO. Not to say it's going to happen, but there's obviously going to be loads of openings for him. That's undeniable. I've seen this Rolando guy hurt badly on the regional scene by someone who I don't rate at all. I mean, he done the stanky leg, he almost did a 360. And Chaos has just insane power. I do think Rolando has some upside in MMA in general. I don't think he's a complete bum. I heard a few people this week, and I've been on a few podcasts and stuff, and a few people have said like he's a bit of a bum and he's not that good, but I actually don't agree with that. I do think he can get some wins in the division, and I actually even said, like, I don't know why the UFC are giving him Chaos for his first fight. Maybe they just want to see a highlight reel knockout on a pay-per-view, on the Chaos side. But I feel like this Rolando could have good back and forths with some good fighters. If you give him someone who maybe isn't the best striker but will swing, that's going to be a great fight, because this Rolando guy, like you said, he's going to throw spinning kicks, he's going to throw elbows, going to throw flying knees, he's going to throw jumping knees, like everything, right? But if he does that against Chaos, Chaos only needs to land one shot. Chaos loves to swing heavy blows in the pocket, and Rolando loves to be in the pocket, and his defense is void. So it's going to have he's going to give Chaos a massive chance to knock him out. And I actually wanted to bet Chaos Williams in round one. The props wasn't out when I did my tape for this fight. And so I was hoping that they would give me something, about plus 300 or a little bit better. But they released KO in round one at like plus 200. And I mean, it's just not a good price. Like, you have to say that Chaos KOs him in round one, like about 40% of the time, ever to have value. And I mean, MMA is so crazy. It's really hard to get to that 40% of the time. Like, I would say it's probably about that. Like, if these guys fought 10 times, like I would say Chaos probably does knock him out early, maybe round one, like 4 times or something. But, it could come in round two. Maybe Chaos just shows up a little bit. Like, things happen in MMA, right? This guy may deploy a different game plan as soon as he gets hit. So I'm not going to bet it myself. But if anyone is like a degenerate and really wants action on every fight, I would say that Chaos in round one at plus 190 is probably like the best bet to go. I don't know what you think about that, but obviously I'm taking Chaos by KO.
Yeah, I feel like him by KO is minus 130, right? Or that's what I saw.
Yeah, it's like, so, I think about that.
I mean, that's okay. Like, I guess if you want to put like, but but I feel like the first round, I think that's what's gonna happen, man. I think he's gonna knock him out in the first round. I'm like pretty confident in that. So, but like you said, if it was plus 300, I would bet on that all day at plus 300.
Yeah.
But
so he actually got some money. So it was 190 when I checked, and now it's 150. So people are putting money on the 190. Chaos in round one. I understand it, but they could be burned if it was like a round two or something.
Yeah, like you said, if that guy gets clipped like once, he might just start like running the whole time, like for half a round or something.
Yeah, it's tough to predict, man. Especially these debutants. I mean, you'll remember like Zellhuber, in that first fight, and then compare it to the Lando fight. It's like a different human. So I actually did a video on my YouTube channel, right? And I basically warned everyone from betting debutant fighters. And I did some research, and I listed like 10 fighters who lost their UFC debut and went on to become like stars. And I mean, there's so many good fighters. Like, I think Leon Edwards lost his debut. Fabricio Verdum lost his debut. Rafael Dos Anjos lost his debut. Like, so many high-level guys lost their debut. Brock Lesnar, I know whatever, but he's a champion. Lots of really high-level guys lost their debut. So just to bring that back to the Bedoya fight, like, what he fights like on the regional scene, he might fight completely different on his debut. So sometimes you just have to be careful betting on debutantes, you know.
Yeah, and this next fight, this is another one where you got to be careful betting on either one of these guys if you do bet on them in any fight. So
Yeah.
this is one where it's like, man, this is a tough one to predict to me, and I'll let you go first on this one. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, you're right. It's tough to put your money behind any of these guys. You know, they have up and down performances. You know, Kennedy, one time he looks like, you know, he's taking loads of shots against Carlos Ulberg, but then he comes back, he shows amazing chin, amazing heart, amazing durability against a good fighter in Carlos Ulberg, somebody who I think is actually better than both of these guys. I know Kennedy beat him, but he showed great durability in that fight. And then when he fought Darton Young, he gets hit once on his guard and he gets knocked out within like 60 seconds. So it's really tough to trust someone like Kennedy, to your point. And then on the other side, Devin Clark, we know what it is about him. You know, I mean, he comes out at like plus 200 and beats Darton Young when Darton Young just ran through Kennedy. It's just a weird, these are just two weird fighters. You know, they are hard to get a beat on. But in this fight, I'm actually fairly confident Kennedy gets him out of there, man. I think Clark has decent toughness. Like, I know a lot of people clown him for having a bad chin and getting finished, and he has been finished a lot of times. But if you go back to some of those fights, like, you know, like the Mirzakhanov fight, I think he showed a decent amount of toughness in that fight at times. Even in the Alonzo Menefield fight, I mean, Menefield, he's a big dude, you know, like he got his orbital smashed to pieces in the first round, and he came back to win the second and third rounds. You know, I know Alonzo's a gasser, but he showed a lot of toughness there. And there's even been other fights. I mean, even against Kutalaba, and that should
Yeah.
have been a finish. He should have lost that fight by knockout or, you know, by, I think he even had him as submission a few times, but he ended up surviving to decision. So I don't think the opinions on Clark being a complete, you know, fraud and a flaker are warranted. But in this fight, I just think he's going to gas out from trying to take Kennedy down. I think Kennedy has decent takedown defense, very tall guy for the division. He's 6'5", and Devin Clark is 6 foot here. It's a massive, massive reach disadvantage. Well, it's a massive height disadvantage and reach disadvantage. He's almost got 10 inches of reach on him. He's got an 8-inch reach advantage. I mean, that is massive in MMA. You know, we're talking 75-inch to 83-inch. 5-inch height advantage and 8-inch reach advantage. I mean, I think that's going to pay dividends. I think the long shots are going to be there for Kennedy. And I just think Kennedy has really good cardio. And I think Devin Clark has average cardio at best, especially when he comes under pressure, you know, when he faces adversity. And I think he's going to face a lot of adversity here. So I think he has a good first round, but I just really do see him slowing down in round 2 or round 3. And I think Kennedy gets a late knockout, maybe middle of round 2 or middle of round 3.
Yeah, as my prediction, I predicted it the same way, where I predicted Kenny's second or third round KO, but I'm just not quite there with you where like I'm confident with Kennedy because just I've seen like that fight where he fought who's the Brazilian got Marquez, right? Where he took his back for like almost 3 rounds in a row. Like he knocked him out with a minute left in the fight or something. Like it was like ridiculous. Yeah. Like so Devin Clark, like he won't gas if Kennedy doesn't do anything. So that's gonna be the fight to me. Like if Kennedy is just in the first round, like keeping his guard up and standing there and like getting held against the cage, then it could be a bad night for him because Devin Clark's a front runner, man. Once he starts like doing well in a fight, like he could get you tired and take over with his style. Like, and I think his striking is getting a lot better, honestly. Like, I was surprised in his striking in that Mirzakhanov fight, like the head kicks he was throwing, like they were pretty good. Like, I'm obviously he's not going to be throwing head kicks against Kennedy, you wouldn't think, but like he was like I feel like he's working on his striking, like his footwork and his movement. Like he was controlling distance a lot better. He's more composed. But like you said, this is a hard matchup for him just because he's going to have to close the distance. Like he's not going to be able to use those freaking like head kicks and body kicks. He's not going to be like on the outside striking. Like he was competitive on the feet against Mirzakhanov because of Mirzakhanov just he's a short, really short guy, and he was able to utilize his kicks. So in this fight, he's going to have to close the distance, and I just think eventually he's going to get tired and get KO'd, but I could see him just holding Kennedy against the cage for 3 rounds too, just depending on how Kennedy comes out in fights. But his last two fights, like he did go out there and finish decent guys. Like he beat Kudalaba, and then he beat Carl Roberson, I guess, whatever with that fight. But especially with the stuff that's going on with Carl recently, I don't know what he was even getting into at that training camp. But
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. But who knows? I mean, Devin Clark, it's just he's too untrustworthy for me. Kennedy, he's younger and he has more upside, so that's why I'm gonna pick him here.
Yeah, I agree.
But
This
yeah,
is
like
bang of this next one, man.
yeah, this next fight, this fight, I'm pretty excited for. Like, honestly though, I'm confident that Dober will get it done. Like, I don't trust Frivolo's chin in this fight. I don't know about you, but like, he got dropped a lot against that Valdez guy. We've seen him KO'd like in 7 seconds against McKinney. So I think in this fight, he's definitely going to want to wrestle. Like, if he's going to be smart in this one, I think he should try to go out there and have that same type of game plan. I guess he had in the fight with Jalen Turner, or like when he fought Frivola, not Frivola, when he fought his debut fight against Venata. So like if
Yeah.
he fights like that, where he's like a heavy wrestling style, then I would give him a chance to win because maybe he can get a few takedowns and kind of grind it out. But I don't see that as likely just because I think Dober like he has lost to grapplers in the past, but they're super high level grapplers like Dariush recently, Islam, and I don't see Fravola on that level. And even if Fravola gets a few takedowns, I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to do anything on the ground. Like I think he might hold him down a little bit, but when they get back up to their feet, he's going to be back in danger. And Dober eventually, another like I think a not a bad bet. I know it sounds crazy just because the guy's chin is incredible. Like you could bet on Frivola to get KO or Dober to get KO'd in like every fight, and eventually it's gonna happen. You're gonna cash it like a big number because he gets lit up in every fight, man. Like that Bobby Green fight, he was getting smoked with punches, like heavy shots, and he's just like eating them. But man, eventually that's not going to work out. He's 34, almost 35, but I don't see Frivola as the guy that's going to crack his chin. Like, I'd be really surprised if Frivola knocked him out. That would kind of surprise me. So I just feel like it's going to be Frivola recently has gotten some KOs, and I think he might fall in love with the striking a little bit and get knocked out. So I'm picking Dober here by KO first or second round, but I could see why some people are picking Frivola too, though.
Yeah, like I understand, I guess, because Fravola has the wrestling upside. We've seen Dober wrestle. Like the path is there, but I think people are forcing it a little bit, you know. And maybe I go back to eat my words, but I don't see Fravola just laying on top of him for 15 minutes. And even if he does, they have to stand back to their feet for, 3 of the 3 rounds. And I just do not trust Fravola's chin at all. I think Drew Dober is going to crack it at some point, and when he cracks it, I think he's going to go to sleep, man. It could even be one of those ones where he's up, 2 rounds to 0, and he just gets knocked out in round 3 because I just don't see him wet blanketing Dober for 15 minutes because, I mean, I think you have to be a really good top grappler to do that, like Makachev. Like, you can take Dober down, but to keep him down, I think you have to actually be like a really good grappler. Like, I haven't really seen him just dominated on the ground by almost anyone. I mean, he
We
gets
even
back up.
you said that he got up against Benio a couple times in their fight
Yeah,
against Benio's.
yeah. And he looked good. He's looking good against Benil. And then obviously, I
Yeah,
think he just got armbarred, right? So, I mean, he looked good against Benil. He cracked Benil a few times. And as you said, got up against Benil. Even Makachev, like Makachev took all the way to round 3 to finish him because Makachev was having a hard time getting dominant position in that fight. And what I mean by dominant position was, it's like a dominant position in terms of finishing the fight. Like he was easily grappling him, and staying on top of him, but he couldn't really pass his guard. And he tried many times. And Dober was staying safe there. And I know he couldn't get back up to his feet, but we're talking about Islam Makachev. Other than that, I haven't really seen him just taken down and just controlled consistently for like the whole round, right? So I don't think Frivola is going to be able to do that. On top of that, Frivola loves to bang. He always loves to bang. Yeah, maybe he changes it here, but maybe he doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't say that Ottoman Azaitar is that much different from Drew Dober in terms of if you're game planning to fight him, would you do something different? Like going into that fight, that Azaitar had like all first round KOs. I'm pretty sure he was like undefeated. I think that was before the Barrios fight. And Well, I don't know if it was Barry or but it was someone else, but I'm pretty sure Azaitar was like undefeated, going into that fight, all knockouts. And Frivolo just stood and banged with him, right? So I don't think
Yeah.
it's a lock that he grapples here. I don't think it's a lock that he wrestles. He might do, but we'll see. I just got Drew Dober knocking him out, man. Probably in round one. And I mean, Daz is saying, Matt is quoted as saying he's going to be the first to KO Dober here. I mean, Matt's a bit crazy, man. Matt's a bit crazy. I don't know if you know John from the Club and Sub podcast, but I remember him talking about Matt Frivolo once, and he said that he spent some time with him at a UFC event. He watched the fights with him. It was like front row or something. And he was speaking to him for like an hour, and he asked him, because he's a gambler as well, right? And he asked him, like, Matt, why do you always go and stand and bang in the octagon? And he said to him, he said, look, I always game plan to wrestle, and I know I can wrestle them, but something happens when I get inside the octagon. I just really love banging, right? And I believe him. When you go watch his fights, I believe him because he just always loves to stand and bang. So I wouldn't say that that's out of the realm of possibility here. I would actually say it's more likely that he throws down with Dober. He may shoot a few takedowns, but I also think that he will stand and bang for a little bit as well. And I don't think it's going to take much for Dober to crack his chin here. So yeah, a long way of saying Drew Dober by knockout is my pick in this fight.
Yeah, like even when he fought like Jalen Turner, like I don't if you saw that fight,
Yeah,
like where he
yeah,
did out grapple him and took him down, but Turner, I don't feel like at that point, especially like that was a while back in Turner's career, like he didn't have that grappling defense and get ups that Drew Dober has, and he was cracking
yeah,
Frivolo too on the feet. Like I remember that was like a controversial decision too. But
It
yeah,
was very
like
close. It was very close.
yeah, I just feel like he's not going to be able to do like what he did to Turner to Dober, even if he had that game plan to do it. Like I just don't see it happening. So
No.
yeah, I feel like Dober's going to get it done here. But yeah, man, moving into the main card now. And this fight, I'm pretty excited for this fight. I know a lot of people probably aren't, but I'm a jujitsu guy. I do jujitsu and been a big fan of Crone for a long time. So I liked his style in grappling, and I feel like he's kind of like a weird guy. So like it's kind of like fun to like follow him and stuff, and like especially this week, like you could see his personality is like so different than most people. Like in the UFC, it's like he doesn't give a fuck about any of this build up type of stuff, but man, it's like I don't know what he's been doing, man, during this time off. Like he's took 4 years off, and I don't know if he's been working on his striking or he just took it off to do nothing. Like because he didn't grapple like in that layoff either. Like so it wasn't like he took it. I maybe he did a couple tournaments, but it wasn't like he took off MMA to start doing like grappling full time again or anything like that. So, but in this fight, like man, I think if you're gonna pick a guy like that has name value, that's like close to the top 15, that you want Chrome Gracie to come back and beat in a fight, it's gonna be like a guy like Charles Jourdain, man. Like this guy's takedown defense is atrocious. He's getting his back taken every time he gets taken down. He gives his back every single time. Like I've never seen him get taken down and not give his back. And like he gave his back to Shane Burgos like every round, and Burgos isn't a grappler. Like that's super sketchy to me. Like getting submitted by Julian Arosa, like just off pressure. Like Arosa just pressured him and got him tired and then submitted him. I mean, isn't that what Chrome Gracie does? Like you watch his fight with Cub Swanson, like he was just eating shots like a zombie, pressuring forward, and then he didn't submit Cub. But I feel like, especially back then, like I think a lot of people underrate Cub Swanson's grappling. Like the guy's a black belt, and his takedown defense is way better than Charles Jourdain. Like it's not even comparable in my opinion. And like I don't know, like I'm gonna pick Crone in this one. I know it's kind of like a off the wall pick. I feel like maybe more people would be picking Jourdain just because he's been active, but the guy's coming off 2 losses in a row, and I feel like his grappling defense is super suspect. So if Crone could take his back in the first round, which I think it's like 50-50 proposition that he's going to take his back in the first round, I think he could finish the fight early. So I'm picking
Yeah.
Crone Gracie to win by first round rear naked choke here, like similar to what he did against Caceres.
Yeah, I mean, if he does win, it's probably going to be by first round rear naked choke, because like you said, Jourdain doesn't have great takedown defense. He doesn't have great grappling in general. And he's a bit of a wild man, will throw in the pocket. I don't see him employing a great game plan where he just stuffs takedown, stays to the outside, like picks him apart. I feel like he's just going to throw down and just swing heavy lever. He might even do flying knees and stuff like that. And like you said, it's probably the best style for for Crone to come back against. just because he's got bad grappling, but also because he's a wild man, because he might just employ the grappling himself. I mean, Charles Jourdain is such a lunatic. He might just like he might go for a takedown himself, man. I mean, Charles Jourdain's kind of crazy, you know. I could see him like hurting Crone and then shooting for a takedown or something stupid like that. I'm sure he won't, but like I could see if I could see it from anyone, it's going to be from Charles Jourdain. But the thing about it is like, obviously, Crone's a super high level grappler. You know, I'm not sure if you saw that his match against Gary Tonin at ADCC in 2013. That was like an epic back and forth.
Yeah,
I mean,
incredible.
Crone was kind of dominating, but like that was kind of like a back and forth match. And Crone was actually on his way to losing that fight. I know I say dominating, but he had dominant positions, you know, but he lost them, and he was on his way to losing the fight. And then like 2 seconds to go, he ends up getting a submission, and that was like a massive fight. I remember that. So, I mean, the guy's, you know, he's the highest level of grappler you can get, but I don't know what he's been doing in 4 years. I haven't heard anything, you know, any interviews or anything saying what he's been doing. I had a little look. I couldn't find anything. I know the dude's into some strange stuff, you know, like he's quite a big proponent of flat earth. And I know he had a lot of beef with his family, the Gracies, and his father and stuff like. So I don't even know what this guy's I don't know what this guy's been doing. I don't know if he's been training or anything. Like, I think I'm not going to say it's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of disrespectful to go against Charles Jourdain here, just because like, and I'm not saying that Crone can't win, but it's just like, this dude's like crazy, bro. Crone, I don't know, like how he's been away for 4 years, and Charles Jourdain's been in the octagon fighting these high level guys, and even on the best, even prime for prime, even if Crone comes back looking great, he could still just get beat up badly on the feet. I mean, the striking difference is probably the same as the grappling difference, right? I mean, maybe not the same, but I mean, Crone Gracie is a terrible striker. Like, if you go back and watch that Cub Swanson fight, you know, he's getting beat up badly, and he's literally not doing anything. He's just walking forward, throwing weird overhands. Like, it looked like he didn't even know how to strike. He looked like he had never taken a striking class in his career. And Charles Jourdain, say what you want, the guy's a good striker, man, and he's a dangerous striker as well. So, yeah, I mean, I really like when I first saw this fight and I saw the line, I was like, plus 150, yeah, fair enough. I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to bet Crone Gracie via submission. Like, that's what I genuinely said. And then the props come out, and then submission from Crone was like plus 210, plus 230.
Yeah, I saw that
like,
too. I was like, we're going to get plus 400 for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. That's because I was like, he's the underdog and he hasn't fought in a long time. So, but
exactly.
They didn't give a shit on that. Yeah, that was annoying for sure.
They're smart, you know. Like I said earlier, man, the books are getting sharper. And when I saw plus 230, I was like, I can't do it, man. Like, I just can't. Like, yeah, I like that is the way he's gonna win, but it would just be going against so many of my principles. And by the way, I have done that before. Like, every now and then I do that, but it would be going against so many of my principles, backing this dude who's completely outmatched on the feet, hasn't fought in 4 years. For all I know, could just be coming in to make money. Like, I mean, the guy's crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna pick Charles Jourdain. It's funny because earlier in the week, I think I did my podcast on a Monday. I picked Crone Gracie via submission. You can go back and watch it, right? But as the week goes on, as I see the embedded a little bit more, as I look into it, and he's not speaking about why he was away. I'm flip flopping. I'm going back to Charles Jourdain. Yeah. I'm showing him more respect than some guy who hasn't fought in 4 years. So, I mean, I hope. I mean, I don't know if you bet or not, but if you have, I hope it cashes for you. I don't have any money on this, so I'm not.
Really... But honestly, I want him to win just because, like, I like him as a fight. Maybe not as a fighter, but as a jiu-jitsu fighter, I liked him. So yeah. I mean, I kind of have a bias there. I don't like to get biases on fighters, and like I don't do it now. But Crone, it's like. I was watching him when I was like a teenager, like way younger. So it's like I still have that kind of connection where it's like I want this guy to win, you know, in his fight. But yeah, like I was really hoping like Wednesday when they did the media days, I was hoping that he was gonna like go there and actually talk. And like we didn't get to hear shit from him at all. So I don't know what he's been doing. Like I heard like on the embedded they were asking like, have you been training with people? And he's like, I'm always training to kill. It's like, what does that mean? Like, I have no idea what that means. He's like, I was shooting guns in my backyard. Like, so are you like doing target practice, like trying to kill people with guns, or like training to kill with MMA? Like, I don't have no idea, but it's like who knows? But honestly, I just feel like Jourdain, like you said, it's like I feel like if he was like he has to be the favorite just because of the optics surrounding the fight.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think it's like if Crone was active, I would pick it as like an even fight, just because I think both guys like they're super dominant where they're gonna be
yeah,
at. The only difference, like you said, you think I do agree. Like Jourdain's striking is like probably it's infinitely better than Crone's for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the reason why I think Crone is a little bit more dangerous is because the guy is like almost impossible to knock out. At least you saw that from the Cub fight.
yeah,
So if he takes Charles down, I think he has a higher likelihood of finishing quick. Like I think if he
yeah.
takes Charles's back in the first round, like Burgos did, it's gonna be over, man. Like I would be very
Yeah.
surprised if Jourdain survived like 3 minutes with Crone on his back. But
It could be insta tap. It could be an insta
yeah,
tap.
do you like how much better do you think? Do you think Charles is a better striker than Caceres?
Yeah, but no, probably not. To be honest, they're probably around the same level.
Yeah, like I feel like it's such a similar matchup. Like Caceres is another guy that like gives his back all the time, like gets taken down and gives his backs. But at that
Yeah,
time, Crone was active and fighting, and like that was his first UFC fight, so it was a way different like time in his career. You know, he was like under 30, so
yeah, yeah. I know. Like he literally lost his prime years. It's just really weird. And then, I mean, I haven't done so much research, but me not being able to find anything, it's just kind of even more of a red flag. It's like, what happened? He doesn't
yeah.
even want to talk about it.
Like if you came in this week and like let's say he looked like good and he was talking like say I'm training with this guy and this guy, I would probably be
Yeah,
inclined to bet on him. But the way that like the build
yeah,
up to this fight's been, to me it's just a total pass, honestly. Like I guess like I seen people parlaying Jourdain, which I think is like kind of
yeah.
foolish because I
Same.
definitely think he could lose, but I get it because it's like what you said, it's like picking Crone is almost disrespectful to Charles, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's like who knows with that. That's a fight like this card, man. They did good. Like matchmaking on this card was good. Like they put like fights where it's like the underdogs could win in a lot of these matchups. So it's a good card in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. This will be a good fight. You know, whatever will happen, this will be a good fight. Like,
Yeah.
Crone's crazy dude, man.
The one thing,
Did you see? Sorry, go on.
yeah, the one thing it's like neither one of these guys are gonna quit. Like that's the thing about this fight. Like even though they have totally
Yeah,
different
yeah,
styles, they both have like that undying like spirit to win. At least you'd hope Crone still has it. Like who knows? Maybe he'll go in there like Nick Diaz this time. But like
yeah,
like he usually has that spirit to win. So like the guy that's gonna win, they're gonna really have to like take it from the other guy. Like so it'll be good for sure.
yeah, yeah. We'll see, man. That they put that as the first fight on the main card for a reason, you know, because it's
Yeah.
either going to be like Charles Jourdain just teeing off, or Cron Gracie gets a easy submission. So I could see
Yeah.
why they kicked it off with the main card.
Yeah, and then this next fight, I'm gonna let you go first on this one because I really didn't spend a lot of time like looking into Diego Lopez. Like I didn't, I watched one of his fights, but just his last fight, and I saw his contender fight, like where I guess he did almost submit Brito a couple times, but I don't know much about this guy. Did you look into him too much?
No, honestly, man, I haven't looked into this. I know Diego Lopez a little bit, but like I didn't do tape. Obviously, I did tape for Evloev's fight against Bryce Mitchell. I thought
Yeah,
Evloev was gonna fuck up Bryce Mitchell. Honestly, I thought he was gonna take him down. I thought he was gonna kind of dominate him. But in this fight, probably think it's gonna be around the same. Diego Lopez, he isn't bad. I think he's got like a. I'm pretty sure he's got a. I think I saw like a stat like a 90% finishing rate or something. Decent amount of KOs, decent amount of submissions. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy from what I have seen. The thing about that is I'm not really sure he's going to get like a guard sub on Evloev. He's obviously going to get taken down. And from what I've seen, he does throw up guard subs and stuff. And so what happens in high-level MMA, which Evloev is, sometimes if you're just happy to get taken down and throw up guard subs, you can kind of just lose the round that way. And so that's probably what I see happening in this fight. But I haven't really gone too in depth in it, so we can save some time there. I'm going to predict Evloev via decision, but I'd probably have to look into it a little bit more to put any money on it or anything like that.
yeah, that's the only thing I was looking because like I looked at this guy and I saw I think all of his losses are by decision, and he has a good
Yeah,
guard, like you said. So if he gets taken down, you'll probably be able to like stay safe with his guard. I guess he did get knocked out that one time, huh?
yeah,
That you're there, but Yeah, so like I feel like if he gets taken down, he could use his guard to stay safe. So that's if I looked into the fight more, that's kind of what I would think. Maybe like if is the over plus money on this fight or no?
So I'm not sure it's been released yet. I mean, it's not even
If
here. I
I'm
know the
thinking,
lines were released, but I don't know about the props.
like, don't you think maybe they could open it plus money just because Evloev is like an established guy? That would be like maybe a bet, but I would have to look into it more though. But
Yeah,
yeah, the
maybe. It's just okay, so apparently on Bet Online right now it's plus 115, and then on FanDuel it's minus 102. So it's actually favored to end inside the distance.
yeah. See, I don't. Maybe the fight goes to decision if they release that like plus 150. Maybe it's like a
Yeah.
decent if you look into it, but I would have to look into this guy more, like if see if he has like no chin or something. But yeah, the one thing I do like worry about with Movsar, I guess, like I don't think it's gonna happen in this fight, but you do got a guy that goes for submissions, and Evloev did like he's been in a couple of deep submissions, like when he fought Nick Lentz
Yeah.
and Mike Grundy, where like he was really close to getting tapped. So I guess he
Yeah.
could sometimes be a little bit reckless with his grappling, but that's the only way I could see Lopez winning is just Evloev making a mistake and getting caught in a submission or something.
Yeah,
But
man. I like Evloev a lot, but he's shown some shaky things in the past. But I mean, he's a really great fighter. But do you remember when he got like wobbled in the last round against Hakeem Dawadu? He was like wobbling all over the place,
yeah,
kind of got dropped a little bit.
he gassed totally in that fight. I remember, yeah, like yeah, that was his last fight too. He hasn't fought in a long time, huh? Because
Yeah,
like
he had the
he had fights
Ilia
with,
Topuria he was meant to fight, and that was minus
yeah.
110. And
And then he was going to fight Bryce like 2 months ago too, and that fight got
yeah,
canceled. So like he might not have fought in like a year, but
yeah, we'll see. There'll be a massive upset if he loses here, man.
yeah. This next fight, Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan, we're getting into a pretty good fight here. I mean, the winner of this fight maybe could get a title shot depending on how the division breaks out. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. You know, Jessica Andrade moving back down to 115. I think that's a lot bigger deal than people give it credit for. Like, she's fighting big girls that are way bigger than her at 25. Like, Blanchfield is big, man. She had like a 69-inch reach. And Jessica Andrade was landing bombs in that fight. I don't know if you saw, like, she was landing heavy shots in the first round. Like, clean on the chin. Like in Blanchfield, she could take a shot, man,
Yeah,
because she was eating like heavy bombs against Andrade. I just don't know. Like Yan Xiaonan at 115, I don't know if she's gonna be able to take those shots the same way. And I see a lot of people like picking Yan. I was pretty surprised by that. Like I guess I don't know if it's like a fade more on they think Andrade is like done, like on the way out type of thing off the Blanchfield performance or what. But I thought that was a decent performance. Like I gave her the first round, and I thought she was even doing good in the second round until whatever. Like I guess she was going to get taken down, I think, but there was like that wardrobe malfunction too, where I guess that impacted it a little bit, I guess. But you know, I feel like with this fight, like Yan Xiaonan, I don't really rate her hands that much. Like I think she has decent like pull crosses, like she could pull girls into those straight punches, but I don't think she really uses her hands that much. She doesn't have a lot of power in her hands. It's more those side kicks, man, and just her ability to use those kicks and control the distance. But if Andrade is blitzing her, getting on the inside, I mean, she's going to nullify a lot of that kicking game ability. And then I just don't trust Xiaonan's grappling either. Like, she did, I guess, defend the takedowns against Mackenzie Dern, but those weren't real takedowns that she was defending. Like, it was just kind of like jujitsu bullshit. So, with Jessica Andrade, I mean, we haven't seen Andrade really implement like a grappling style in a while. Like, she hasn't gone in there and taking girls down and beating them up. But she's had that capability, especially at 115. We've seen her do it like multiple times. Like she did against Joanne Calderwood. She beat her up pretty bad on the ground, finished her. And I think if she could take down Jan, I mean, we saw Carla just absolutely dominate her with ground and pound. So I don't see why Andrade couldn't do similar to that. I don't think Andrade is quite as good on the top position as Carla, but you know, I feel like she definitely could do big damage too. And I just don't see Yanja not being able to control the distance with their kicks for 15 minutes. Like I think Jessica Andrade will get on the inside, get the better of the handwork. She'll land the heavier shots, and I do think she'll bring back the wrestling in this one, get a couple takedowns, and I think this is her weight class, man. I think 115 it's way better for her. So I think she's gonna come down here, and I actually get to see her getting the finish in this one. So I'm gonna pick Andrade's second or third round TKO.
yeah. I'm actually on Yan, so this is good because we
Yeah.
disagree. So I can kind of explain, like my position on Yan, because you said you're not sure why people are picking her. So for me, well, first of all, I just want to say that I bet on Erin Blanchfield against Jessica in our last fight, right? I know a lot of people on Jessica in that spot. There was a couple of people on Erin, but I think majority were on Jessica. Jessica was a favorite as well. And the reason I did that was obviously because of the grappling. But I was a little bit shocked to see, in my opinion, I know you said you gave Jessica the first round, but I thought she was getting outstruck by Erin Blanchfield. I thought Blanchfield was landing the better shots. And maybe, Andrade hit a few harder shots because she's just one of the hardest hitting women that has ever lived. But I think in general, she was kind of getting teed off on. I thought Erin Blanchfield was judging the range fine. I feel like she was kind of controlling the fight. And I mean, her straight punches, her jab and her 1-2, that was just licking Andrade's head so much. Like if that was someone who hit harder, like Andrade wouldn't have been able to take those. If that wasn't women's 125, she wouldn't have been able to take those. But obviously she was. And Erin was a lot bigger than her in that spot. I was also, that's another reason why I bet on her, just because I thought the physicality, because Erin's a lot bigger than Andrade, and she's not going to have that here. But that definitely opened my eyes a little bit. And I don't think, I might not be betting Jan if I didn't see Erin have so much success on the feet. Because at the end of the day, Erin's a decent striker, but she's a grappler, man. She's not a great striker. I mean, we saw JJ Aldridge kind of just play with her in the striking, honestly, and Andrade, she isn't really a good striker. She's just so aggressive, and it just works against most girls because most girls have never seen that pace, that pressure, and that physicality. But when it actually comes down to striking, technique, and skill, she's not good, man. Like even in that Amanda Lemos fight, Lemos was toying with her on the feet, like playing with her until she got caught in a standing arm triangle, which again just goes back to women's MMA. I think it's been the first in men's or women's MMA. And so I don't think she's a good striker at all. And I think Yan's definitely a better striker. And what else I like about Yan, something comparable to Erin Blanchfield in that fight is that Yan has good straight punches. She has a good 1-2. She has good jabs. And like you said, she's able to judge range quite well. And not only that, but she has good footwork. So I do expect Yan to, at least early, be controlling the range, teeing off on Jessica Andrade's head. I think she can jab her 1-2. I think she can play ping pong. I think Andrade is going to have a hard time tracking Yan down because I think Yan has good footwork, good cardio. She has good ring craft. She's never really lumbering or just walking forward. She's always kind of like dancing, good footwork on the outside. And I think she'll be able to do that against Andrade here. And the only thing I'll say is obviously I'm a little bit worried about if the fight goes later because, again, like most girls, the physicality of Andrade, especially at 115, it is something to worry about. So if the fight gets into the second and third round, which it probably will, because Yan Xiaonan doesn't really have good punching power, I wouldn't be like, I mean, I do think Yan can get a knockout just because I think the 1-2s are going to be there all day, and I think she is going to outclass her on the feet early. But Yan has like no knockouts in UFC. Maybe she got like one. I think she's got none. So like I would kind of be surprised to see her get a knockout. And so for that reason, if I'm picking it to go to decision, I do think Andrade is going to come on late. I do think round 2 or round 3, Andrade will start to have more success. But I mean, Yan Xiaonan is plus 160. Yeah, I mean, for those reasons, the footwork of Yan, the straight shots of Yan, the distance control of Yan, and the difference in striking technicality for me was enough to play Yan at plus 160. So we'll see how it plays out, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade kind of gets beat up early, but then comes back into the fight, kind of like the Rose Namajunas rematch. But we'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I didn't bet on Andrade, and I do think Jan is the value side, so hopefully she wins for you, But yeah, man, I just don't trust Jan, her punching power, man, and I don't think she's that active with the hands. Like it's more kicks, so that's the only reason. Like if she was like had like a 69-inch reach like Erin Blanchfield, then I would think it'd be way easier. But they have like the same reach, right? Her and Andrade.
Yeah.
So, but But yeah, I totally get it, especially with the plus money. And Andrade is like she's been in the UFC for like 10 years now, so eventually, we'll start to see her slow down. So you could be catching kind of like the end of her prime.
Like I think as well with me in general, like I've faded Andrade a lot, man. Like I put a lot of money on Valentina Shevchenko at -400. Everyone thought I was insane. But obviously she cashed there, she dominated her, she beat her up, and then she finished the fight. And then like I've got a good read on Andrade in general because I bet on her against Caitlin Chikagan. Obviously, she got a knockout there in round one. Then I faded her again against when she fought Cynthia Calvillo, and that was a terrible bet, really, really bad bet. But it was the only bad bet I had in the Andrade fight, in any of Andrade's fights. And then I also bet against her again with Erin Blanchfield, and now I'm betting against her again. So I know Andrade is a really good fighter, but I guess just in my eyes, everyone sees fighters differently, and sometimes there's a fighter who, for whatever reason, you just always bet against them or you just always bet on them. And so I guess, like, obviously, most of the time I've bet against Andrade, it's worked for me, right? So I don't just bet against her no matter who she's fighting. She's one of the best in the division. My favorite fighter, Amanda Lemos, I didn't even bet on her against Andrade, right? So I'm not biased in that way, but I guess I don't respect Andrade's skill sets as maybe some other people. And maybe that's, leaning into my bias here. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a good fight no matter what happens. Every Andrade fight is kind of a banger, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah,
Co-main
co-main.
event time.
This is another one where it's like I see a lot of people on both sides, and it's a
Yeah.
fight where it's like hard to predict, man. It's hard to be super confident to me on like either side. The one thing, like, I do think Gobert is way faster than Bilal
Yeah.
personally, especially early in the fight. Like Bilal was getting like hit with hard shots against Sean Brady, man. Like I was impressed by his chin in that fight. Like he was eating like clean punches right on the chin. Like his defense was not good in that fight, but I guess it didn't really matter because he was just eating the shots and he got him tired and then eventually finished him. And that's gonna be what he has to do against Gilbert, man. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be able to take those shots the same way. Like I wouldn't be getting hit clean like that. Like maybe if I'm Bilal, honestly, like just give away that first round, man. Like be like more defensive because if you get clipped heavy in that first round, like Gilbert Burns, we saw him drop Masvidal with that uppercut. We saw him drop Chimaev. He dropped Usman. At 55, he's got some crazy knockouts. So early in the like first round, I think Bilal be in trouble, like especially with that pressure style. So I feel like if you could try to kind of minimize the damage in the first round and bring it later, that's going to be really beneficial to him. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a battle. To me, it's like Gilbert Burns, I feel like is going to be on the back foot in the fight, at least most of the fight. Like maybe he'll be going forward sometimes, but I think it's going to be him in that kind of long stance that he was using against Masvidal, moving in and out, trying to land that check hook and the overhands. And then if he can get takedowns, I think maybe he'll try early, see how easy it is to take Bilal down. And then if he could take him down, then he'll keep doing it. If it's too much energy, he might just totally stop trying to get takedowns altogether. But for Bilal, he's going to have to use that jab and the pressure, man. I mean, Gilbert Burns, he doesn't really do well against pressure guys that could stay in his face and throw those straight shots. Like he tends to get overwhelmed, get wide, and you've seen him get dropped with jabs, get clipped with straight shots in a lot of fights. And Bilal isn't someone that has power though, so I don't necessarily think it's early on he's going to really do much with his shots. But as the fight goes on, if he can get him tired with the pressure, then he could start to maybe do damage like he did against Sean Brady. And I think this is going to have to be a full stand-up fight for Bilal though, because I don't see him wanting to grapple with Gilbert Burns at all. So he doesn't have that out of like going for takedowns in this fight like he did in other ones, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to pick Burns by decision, but I don't really have confidence in this one. This is one of these fights where I feel like it's a good live betting spot, like where if you could see Gilbert fading early, then maybe you could go on Bilal. But if you could see Gilbert kind of dominating with his speed and it's not really that competitive, then maybe you could see Burns as the clear side. But yeah, I feel like both these guys have advantages. And one thing about it is I don't know if either of these guys are at 100% either. I mean, George
Yeah.
Masvidal and Gilbert Burns just fought 2 weeks ago. I don't think Gilbert took that much damage in that fight, really. But, his hands had to be hurting and stuff like that after the fight. And Bilal, obviously he was complaining about the weight cut. So who knows how difficult that's going to be for him. He just had Ramadan and all that. I don't know if he was training 100%. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Burns, but I really have like pretty much low confidence on the pick, like pre-flop.
Yeah, I feel you, man. It's a real hard fight to break down, and like how I see them matching up is very even in every aspect of MMA. Because either they're even and they're quite good at, they're like on the same level, or they cancel each other out. So for example, I think in the grappling, obviously Bilal's a better wrestler, but Gilbert is obviously a much better jiu-jitsu guy. So it kind of cancels each other out because I don't really think Gilbert's going to be able to take Bilal down too much because Bilal's going to be too strong with the takedown defense. But then on the other hand, I don't think Bilal's going to want to take Gilbert Burns down because he doesn't really want to go in his guard and test that, right? So they cancel each other out in the grappling for the most part. And in the striking, I feel like they cancel each other out a little bit as well because I do think Gilbert, like you said, he's much faster. He hits much harder. But on the other hand, I kind of feel like Bilal's more technical with it. So he may be able to time Gilbert. He may be able to make some reads in the striking that Gilbert doesn't really make. I think Bilal's a lot smarter of a fighter, and that includes the striking. I feel like maybe he could see something in round 3 or round 4 that he can adjust to and start catching Gilbert on the feet. And also, I think Gilbert may have a worse chin than Bilal. I know Bilal's been cracked a few times, but Gilbert's been cracked a few times as well. And I don't really trust Gilbert's chin. I don't really trust Bilal's chin too much, but I think Bilal has a better chin than Gilbert Burns. He just went back against Vicente Luque, which was one of his most which was his most brutal knockout of his career. And like he took a few shots from Vicente Luque. It wasn't plain sailing, although he dominated him. And he looked really good in that fight. He had a weird stance. He was kind of like bouncing on the outside, and then he was shooting in for takedowns. And he went up against the guy who knocked him out flat, and he looked good in that fight. His chin looked good. Even in the Brady fight, like you said, his chin looked good. I know the Leon fight, he got wobbled a little bit, but he didn't get knocked out, and that was a clean head kick. Or it wasn't a clean head kick, but it was a bit of a big head kick. So I honestly feel like Gilbert Burns can definitely knock out Bilal because of how fast, explosive he is. Gilbert Burns can knock out everyone. I remember he almost knocked out Kamaru Usman in round 1, right? And you say almost knocked out. Obviously, it wasn't, but he hurt him in that fight. Gilbert can knock anyone out, but I also think Bilal can knock Gilbert out. So again, it kind of cancels itself out. So, I mean, this is a long way of saying this fight is fucking hard to predict, man. Like, it's not easy to predict a winner. I'm going to go with Bilal just because I feel like he's got better cardio. I think his fight IQ and in-fight adjustments are better. So in a 5-round fight especially, I think if it's like very even up until the 3rd round, I trust Bilal to pull away more in rounds 4 and round 5. And I also feel like when Gilbert's cardio drains, which I do expect it to do because Bilal's such a pressure fighter, I do think that Bilal can actually get takedowns to steal rounds in round 4 and round 5. I don't think he's just going to get instantly submitted with a triangle. So if there's 30 seconds left, a minute left, I think Bilal can stay safe in his guard, especially when it's not early in the fight. So for those reasons, I will give it to Bilal, but I also concede that Gilbert Burns has the bigger moment upside in this fight and probably more of a chance to get a knockout, at least early. He's going to be the much more dangerous guy. His leg kicks are brutal. He could hurt Bilal's leg early. Everything he throws is with heavy power, whereas Bilal doesn't really have much power. So, yeah, very hard fight, man. But I'll take Bilal Muhammad in that one. He's been on a streak. He hasn't had that. He hasn't fought for the title yet, like Gilbert Burns has. He's been on a mad streak. I mean, he keeps on putting on better performance after better performance. He keeps shocking people. He keeps coming out with new game plans. The Sean Brady game plan versus the game plan against Vicente Luque was completely different. He put it on Sean Brady, but against Vicente Luque, he skirted on the outside of the octagon and just shot him when he needed to do. So I just feel like Bilal's on a better career trajectory. And yeah, I think he's younger in the game, and I think he gets it done this weekend, but I'm not confident at all.
Yeah, what do you think about now that Dana confirmed totally that they're going to be next? Like, one of them's going to be next for the title. Who do you think, like, I guess let's say Leon keeps the belt just for, I know he's going to fight Colby, but do you think Bilal or Gilbert would be, I would say Gilbert would be a way harder matchup, but what do you think, like, for Leon, like, who do you think he would want to win this fight, personally?
So, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want Bilal to win? Like, you might as well just have Bilal win because you already kind of dominated him in the first round. I know it was only 1 round, but Leon just looked so good in that fight. He looked
Yeah.
like one of the best he's ever looked. He was just dancing on the outside. He hurt him. And with Gilbert, like it's not like Gilbert is going to bring a lot more pay-per-view eyes. It's not like Gilbert's going to get him paid. You know what I mean? Like if anyone's going to get him paid, it's probably Colby. So you just, yeah, I think Leon would want to fight Bilal again. Might as well have a rematch.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the winner, I think it's funny. Like, Bilal, man, that guy gets no love anywhere. Like, he was getting crushed today, booed today, too. But, man, I guess he takes it in stride or whatever. But, yeah, this
Some
main
some
event, this
people
is
are like,
another one. Say that,
sorry,
my
but I
bad.
was just gonna say some people are just hated in MMA, man.
Yeah. But yeah, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry, man. I mean, this is another one, man, where it's like tough for me to make a prediction, man. Like it's
Yeah,
like Henry Cejudo is my guy. Like this guy, I bet on him multiple times, and he was like a big underdog, like over 2-1. When he fought DJ, it was like 800. So
did
I
you
made
bet
a
on
lot
him?
of in that fight. I bet on him against Marlon and
Damn,
against
bro.
TJ. All
That's
three
got
of
to be one of the best picks
them.
ever, man. Henry Cejudo
Yeah.
against DJ in the
Dude,
second fight.
I got some good picks like that. Like I got the Pena one against
Oh,
Nunez. I
damn.
bet her in that
Serious.
one too. So those are like kind of cool picks to have. But yeah, I don't know why. Like I was
Can I,
that,
let me ask
that fight.
you, let
But
before we get on, let me just ask you then, because you bet on those two fighters,
yeah,
did you have a bet in Cejudo DJ 1 and did you have a bet in Pena Nunez 2?
Cejudo DJ one. No, I wasn't even betting back then when they first
Okay.
fought. So, but yeah, for Nunez, I bet on Pena again in the second one, which was a
Yeah.
horrible bet. But honestly, I saw the third fight and I was like, fuck, like I picked her twice in a row. She's gonna be like plus 1,000 in the third one. Like I probably was
Yeah.
gonna say I might as well just say fuck it and pick her and bet on her again. But now I'm kind
Yeah.
of happy that that got taken out of my hands.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's like I hope they actually do that fight again, though. I don't know why people shit on Pena like that because I think she builds up fights better than anyone else. In the
Yeah.
any like female, like she's the best at building the fight up, and at least she got destroyed, but like she's more competitive than these other girls. Like so, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Like the Irene fight, it is what it is with that one. But going back to this fight, like Henry versus Aljo, it's like who has Henry fought that is anything like Aljamain Sterling? Like I was trying to like look at his record, I was like has he ever fought like a long guy that was trying to backpack him and take him down? Like he never fought anyone like that. Like I was looking at like
No.
his fights. Like which fight could you
Oh,
go back and watch?
like the only one, because I remember taping this, like the
Yeah,
only, obviously he's not long, but the only one would be Formiga, right? But like, because obviously
yeah,
he loves the back take. But you go back and watch that Formiga fight, and there was no takedowns, and he didn't
yeah.
even really attempt any
Yeah, it
takedowns.
was
So
all
it's just
straight.
like,
I
yeah,
went back and watched that fight like specifically for that. Like I was like, all
yeah,
right, for sure he's gonna be trying to like get his back at one point. And it was like a stand up fight. It was close actually too,
yeah,
but like I don't know, like it's like you've never seen him face someone with that style, so it's totally hard for me to even like predict. Like Aljamain's gonna be way bigger. That's one thing for sure. Like he'll probably be like 25 pounds heavier, 20 pounds heavier than Henry. Like, but is he
yeah. It's
gonna
true.
really be able to take Henry down? Like Henry has that low center of gravity. He's gonna be pressuring, and he has the switch stance, really good feints. Like that's one thing that I think people don't give Henry the credit for. Like I think him and Volkanovski have like some of the best feints in MMA. Like Henry Cejudo, the way that he can open guys up with their feints is like elite level. So
Yeah,
I think that's like a potentially a big factor in the fight, honestly, because Aljamain does like if you feint him, like he will go first sometimes and be real awkward and weird, and maybe Henry could like find some patterns and then eventually get to him, but it's hard for me to like pick Henry with any confidence, even though I really like Henry and I always pick him because I feel like the guy's just extremely smart. He's never going to quit. He's going to come in with the best cardio possible, and he's going to have great like mid-fight adjustments in every fight. And I don't really see Aljamain being a guy that's going to make those adjustments, but it's just is Henry going to be able to get by those kicks? Like, is he going to be able to stop the takedown, stop the back takes 100%? Like, is it one back take for Aljo and he could finish the fight? I think a lot of these questions are kind of unanswered, really. And another thing, it's like Henry, he's coming back after a layoff. He's 36 years old. Like, that's pretty old, man. Like, he's, especially for 135, but it's not like Aljamain's young either. He's like almost 34, right? So both these guys are kind of getting up there. Henry, I mean, it seems like he still has that confidence, man. Like he's like talking that talk this week. Like he's like definitely confident he's going to go out there and beat Volkanovski. So I don't know if he really believes that or he's coming back because he's having a kid and had a kid already. So it's like who really knows? But I'm going to pick Henry just because I always fade Sterling. Usually, like I've been picking against him in his fights, and style wise, I feel like Henry can do the same thing that I thought TJ could do with the switch stance, feints, pressure, boxing, and defending the takedowns, having the better cardio, and being able to just be the smarter fighter over time. But I gotta like I was thinking I was gonna bet on Henry on this one when I first saw the fight, but now that it's like coming closer, I just have this feeling where I don't want to do it. So I'm gonna watch it, and if Henry's like looking good like usual, then maybe I might live bet him early. But
Mm.
I just don't really have a big confident read on this fight either. Like I definitely think Sterling could use his size to get the back and finish him. I don't know if Henry's gonna look washed here. Like he could. Like who really knows? But I'm gonna still side with Henry. Like I feel like if he's gonna come back and put his legacy on the line like that, like he already has like a good thing going with Fight Ready. He was on Mike Tyson's podcast and he does all this media stuff. I think he can make money outside of the sport, at least decent money. Obviously not millions like he could make off MMA, but I don't think he'd put his legacy on the line if he really thought he was like totally washed version of himself or he can't win this fight. So I'm trusting Henry here, and I'm gonna say he goes in there and gets it done. So I'm gonna pick Henry to be and still, no and new, it's still and still. So undisputed champ. So we'll see, I'm going with Henry Cejudo though.
Yeah, he never lost his belt, so you could definitely say and still. And sometimes they do things like that, in the octagon. I can't remember who it was, but Bruce Buffer said something weird before when, like, I think it was a fighter who had came back, and instead of saying and new, they said like, I can't remember what it was. It was just a weird one, but yeah. But anyway, I kind of agree with what you're saying, man. Like most of what you say, I agree with. It's really hard to know how Henry is going to look. I made a 25-minute breakdown on my YouTube channel, so I'm not going to go into this too much, right? But basically, it all comes down to the unknowns on Henry's side, right? That's what I spoke about. And you can speak about these for a long time, but really, the unknowns are all on Henry's side. They're not on Aljo's side because we know what Aljo's going to bring to the table. And the unknowns for Henry, in short, are basically that he's 36 years old. And so coming back to a lighter weight class is very hard as you get older. If you're 36 years old returning to the heavyweight division, it's not as bad as if you're 36 years old returning to bantamweight. So that's the unknown. How is he going to look at 36 years old at a lighter weight class? Not only that, another unknown is how is he going to look at 36 years old, but also after having a 3-year layoff. 3 years is a long time for anyone. And also, he's not only coming back after a 3-year layoff at bantamweight, but he's not just fighting a random dude. He's fighting the best fighter in that weight class. And it's the best weight class in the UFC. So, I mean, there's a lot stacked against Henry here. With all that being said, I'm picking Henry to get a knockout in round 3, 4, or round 5. I think that Aljo's cardio is not very good when he has to face a lot of pressure and adversity. He gassed in both Peter Yan fights. And I also believe that if Peter Yan wasn't the type of fighter where he doesn't have much power on the feet, he's kind of a volume guy, and he plays with his food a little bit. I feel like if that was Henry in the same position in rounds 3, 4, and 5 in both of those Yan fights, I think Henry gets him out of there. I think Henry is much more vicious. I actually think Henry has more punch power than Peter Yan. And I also think he has the same amount of cardio and the same takedown defense. So, I know you're saying that Henry's never really fought someone like Aljo, but I kind of feel like Aljo's fought someone like Henry in Peter Yan. I know they're not the exact same, and you have all the MMA nerds going to message me like, no, they're different. Henry's a wrestler, Yan's a striker. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a similar prototype. Short, stocky, good strikers who defend takedowns like motherfuckers, right? And that's what Henry is. And I think that he's going to defend the takedowns from Aljamain Sterling. He's got 100% takedown defense. He's just like Phil Hawes. I could not find footage of Henry on his back. I couldn't do it. And I went back and I watched a lot of fights and I couldn't find it. So I just feel like Aljo's going to gas, I think Aljo's going to put out a lot of volume like he always does. And one of the reasons Aljo gasses is maybe not because he's a gasser, but just because, like, probably because he cuts a lot of weight. You know, I mean, like you said, the dude's massive, but also because he fights with an insane pace. I mean, probably the highest pace of any fighter in the bantamweight division, other than his best friend and training partner, Merab Devalishvili. They're both very similar in the fact that they just shoot just loads of volume with the striking so they can get to takedowns, right? And yeah, maybe he's going to overwhelm Cejudo if Cejudo's not at his best, but prime for prime, I think Cejudo will win. So I'm going to say that Cejudo is smart enough to come back, not in his prime, but good enough to beat Aljo here. And he's just a winner at the end of the day. You know, he's got some John Jones vibes where, like, yeah, he's been out for a while. Yeah, he might be a flyweight, you know, moving up to bantamweight for the last 3 fights of his career, but the guy's a winner and he's won all his life. And I think he's going to be able to do enough to beat Aljamain Sterling here. I mean, it's going to be a good fight. And I actually don't mind the under, because the under or the fight doesn't go to decision is at plus money right now. And I just feel like if Cejudo comes back not at his best, well, then you're probably going to get Sterling taking his back. You're probably going to get Sterling like piecing him up on the feet with just insane volume, and Henry's reactions are not the same. You're probably going to get Sterling doing what he always does and having a really good first round or two. And that could lead to a finish, because Sterling can finish anyone. He almost finished Peter Yan in that second fight. You know, he was ground and pounding him, and obviously Yan stayed safe there. And if Henry does come back his best, well, then I think he's going to take over in rounds 3, 4, and 5. So I honestly think the doesn't go to decision is quite good here. I'm surprised to see it at plus money. I would actually line it at about minus 150 myself. I'm not actually going to bet it, but I do think that's a decent bet. I'm close to betting it, but I think I'm just going to pass. I'm not going to bet on Henry Cejudo money line either, even though I'm picking him. It probably sounds like I'm betting on Cejudo because I'm quite passionate, but I'm not betting on him because of all the unknowns. But I am going to pick him to get a knockout in round 4 and still Henry Cejudo, and then either ride off into the sunset or call out Sean O'Malley for a big, big pay-per-view fight, or go for quadruple C and fight Alexander Volkanovski, which would be my preference, because that would be an insane fight. But yeah, man, I think Cejudo gets it done this weekend.
Yeah. So what do you you think Henry, like? You think if he actually fought Alex, it would be? You think it'd be competitive?
I would pick Alex to win for sure. You know, Alex is my favorite male fighter. I think he's the best fighter in the world. You know, I think he's I should say I think he's pound for pound number 1. You know, maybe John Jones, but yeah, I'd say Henry. He's pound for pound number 1, but I think Henry's special, you know? Like, it's funny because I wouldn't, like, right now, I wouldn't class Alexander Volkanovski on the level of, like, John Jones and GSP, but I would class Henry there. I don't know why. Maybe because Henry retired already, and I kind of think of him as someone who's already fought and we can, like, judge his career, whereas Volkanovski's still in his career, so maybe I don't want to judge it yet. But I think because Henry's so amazing at fighting and such high fight IQ, I do feel like he would, you know, have some success, but I would probably pick Volkanovski to actually finish Henry late.
Yeah.
What about you? You think Volk would like dominate him?
I don't. That's another one where I would want to see the line. And then a lot of these fights, like where it's like these super high level fights, like where it's like maybe one guy you could see like the Pena versus Nunes fight, where the public thinks one person has a clear edge, and when you're looking at tape, I mean, maybe they do have a clear edge too. But when someone has that confidence level, like through the roof, like I think that's a big deal for sure. Like Henry is like, his confidence wins in fights. Like even though you can't see it, like in reality, like you can't see it with your eyes, but like Andrew Ruiz when he fought Anthony Joshua the first time. If you were listening to his interviews before the fight and like listening to him talk, the guy was so confident. Like his confidence was through the roof. So I definitely think that just the belief in yourself that Henry has, like that wins you a lot of fights. So if he was like plus 500 or something against Volkanovski, that would be like an instant bet for me. But yeah, I don't think he'd get dominated. I think it'd be like, he could maybe, but if it's a stand-up fight, I don't see why Volkanovski would necessarily dominate him in the fight. I think it could be competitive. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how Henry looks though Saturday. Like if he looks like the old Henry, then man, yeah, you definitely could sign me up for that fight with Volkanovski because that would be sick. But I guess you think... What's up?
I was just gonna say, do you think he like if he wins and he looks good, let's say he gets a knockout in round 3 or something. Like I haven't really listened to him this much this week. I don't know if he's speaking past Aljamain about the future. I'm sure he's probably not, but I'm sure he's been asked. But do you think he would move up to fight Volk like he spoke about, or do you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, today at the press conference, he was saying that his plan was he wants to beat Aljamain, and then he like I don't remember what he said. He said like some BS thing about Sean O'Malley, like making fun of him, but he said he wanted to beat Aljamain, beat Sean for big money,
Okay.
and then fight Volkanovski. So
Oh
that's what
yeah.
his plan was. Like he was saying that Aljo and Sean are tune-up fights. Like that's what he was saying. Like these
He
are
better
tune-up
be
fights, and then I'm gonna fight Volk.
36 years old. He better be quick, man.
Yeah, you got to fight Sean at the end of the year, man, and then maybe fight like Volkanovski the beginning of next year. Like, but he'll be like 37 years old, man. Like, but yeah,
Yeah.
like that'll be if he could beat Volkanovski, I think he'd be undoubtedly the best UFC fighter of all time. So,
Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, man, this is gonna be a great card. Like, I actually think both these guys built the fight up pretty good. I know it's kind of BS because they're actually friends, like so, but they're building it up like they don't like each other, and I don't think it's gonna sell like crazy, but it's good for the fans to watch. Like I think this is a great main event because it's 50-50 title fight, man. You usually don't get that very often. So,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go with the legends, man. If you look at it recently, like a lot of the legends that came back, they've been winning, man. Like John Jones
Yeah.
won. We saw GSP a few years ago come back, beat Bisping. Cruz came back and won. So we've seen these guys do that before when they're special type of fighters. Sometimes the layoff doesn't affect them like it does other people, man. So I think it's gonna be similar to like when DJ or Dominic Cruz came back and beat TJ for the belt. Basically it's the same scenario where he was the lineal champ. He never lost the belt, came back
Yeah.
and took the title from the young guy that was like dominating the division. So we'll see if that kind of repeats itself. But yeah, man, I'm definitely excited for this card and really appreciate you coming on and breaking it down. So if you want to tell the people where they can get your bets and where they can get information from you in terms of like your YouTube and all that, go ahead and tell them, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Like we went quite a long time again, so
Yeah.
hopefully the viewers stuck with us and they enjoyed all the content. I think we broke down the fights pretty well. So thanks for having me on again. We should probably do this again. Maybe jump back on my channel for the next pay per view. And yeah, if you want to follow me on YouTube, lucrativemmabetting.com. I'm a professional gambler, so I do this for a living. I've been gambling for over a decade. All of that stuff. You can see all of my videos on my YouTube channel, and I have a website as well, lucrativemmabetting.com. I have sports betting training courses on there. I have free videos on there. I have my official bets on there and all of that good stuff as well, man. So yeah, that's where you can find me. But thanks again for having me on, bro. Hopefully we cash this weekend. I think we're on a couple of bets together, like Phil Hawes and stuff. So hopefully he comes through for us and we have a good weekend.
Yeah, yes, sir, man. Just like you said, if you want to get access to my bets, go to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. If you get my bets, you get lucrative MMA bets. I mean, I could almost guarantee you're going to be making some money over the year.
Yeah.
I've never had a losing year yet so far, so hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, but doing good this year again. And yeah, man, we're two of the guys bringing you the best betting content on the internet. So definitely would recommend you checking us out and supporting us so we can keep going. But yeah, man, thanks everyone for watching and enjoy the fights this weekend, man. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. We're out.